a lot of little tedious stuff. It's like wait for something to dry and then move on to the next thing, and work on other stuff while you're waiting for stuff to dry. So I don't have any experience doing this, so I'm sure others could do it faster, but better just to fess up you messed up and not risk it up there in the air. I'm Jeremy Grobeck, mortgage master and airplane builder, but this is what I love. Let's get you home. Once we get done with the horizontal stabilizer, it's onto the fuselage. First off, there's more reaming, okay? So you get the reaming done, but then you get to start putting the control column together. And the control column is a bear. I messed with that control column for hours and hours. All right, I got the control assembly going here. Wow, it was a battle. This guy right here had to trim back a bunch of the metal in there. Make sure you ream this out before you put it in there. It's a lot easier. I didn't realize I had to ream it till I got it in there. And it was not easy to get out, so I just reamed it in place. It worked out fine. Control stick goes here, and this is what controls your left and right. And then it'll also pivot forward and backwards. So got some linkages hooked up here. So there's the other side. So this took me probably, I should have timed it, but my guess is that this guy right here took me 3 hours. Nothing on this kit is fast, so you just gotta take it one step at a time. I also got this guy right here put together, and let's just set it down and I'll show you. So this sucker was not easy at all. This was the prefabbed kit that I purchased, and you can see in there's a little rivet in there, and there's a little bearing. It's a stop is what it is. It's a stop for the controls, but that rivet was a bear to drill. Even though it was pre-made, this stuff all still needed adjusted and the bushing sand down, and just everything kind of properly fit. All these have to be sanded down to fit into the holes, and it just takes a while. Smoked 3 drill bits getting those holes here drilled into these guys. I'm getting ready to install all of this into the fuselage. Putting in the control column, and first step is to get this is all put together. We got to put this through here. This has all been reamed. It's all, you know, there's some couple hours, or maybe, I don't know, couple hours to get this all together. So this is kind of the final kick here, and just kind of working this bolt down through the plastic. It's been pre-drilled. Well, I pre-drilled it, match drilled it. Oh, hey, check this out. I'm gonna show you something. I haven't looked under here in it was probably Saturday. I was out here working. Today's Wednesday, so I don't know. Maybe it was even Friday, but anyways, I was out here working and I look over, I see some motion out of the corner of my eye, and I look over and there's a mouse crawling on the floor, and he looked kind of drunk. I've got some poison in the garage and stuff like that for the mice. And anyway, so he probably ate some of that, but I don't like mice and I wasn't gonna mess with him. So I put this bucket over him, and he's been under there now since whatever day that was. I'm too scared to look at him. I was gonna try to get one of the kids to come help, but nobody wants to help me. So I'm just gonna leave him under the bucket for a little while longer. Bust it open.
Been under that for more than like a week. We tortured it.
I didn't torture it, I starved it out.
You didn't starve it.
It was already dying from poison, I think. Open the bucket.
Tell me if it's like alive.
I will. It looks pretty dead.
It's dead?
It's dead.
Great, now you know.
No, get it.
No! You're the man.
I don't know. I messed with it for a long time trying to get it. I don't know how tight it's supposed to be. If I torque it down to the specs, it's super tight. You can't even move it. I messed with it, took it apart, messed with it. I don't know. It's supposed to flop more like this, free flow. It does. Hits that spot and it's pretty smooth back, but it's stiffer up here. The control column is a bear. I'm going to show you a couple tricks maybe that I learned along the way to help with it. This is all free flowing right now. I battled with this thing and battled with it, and I'm still not happy with it. I ended up sanding this too much here. I don't know if you can see the gap in that block. And when you tighten this block, it will compress and compress and compress. So I thought it was this, and I kept sanding it and sanding it. Well, it doesn't matter how much you sand it, it just keeps compressing. And just for good measure, I ordered another one, and I'm just gonna replace this piece. So that's kind of my first, what I would say, screw up. But better just to fess up, you messed up, and not risk it up there in the air. I want this to be a quality built aircraft. It took forever. I will tell you what I finally figured out that got it to all jive right. It's the left-hand control column bearing is what it's called if you're actually building one of these, but it's this plastic piece, and what would happen is as I'd tighten down the bolts, the plastic would change shape. So I'd have the center hole in it shaped right, but then as it compressed, it would change ever so slightly, and I'd have friction on there, and it was because these two bolts were applying uneven pressure essentially. And so what I did was I got a little metal plate and put that on top of it, and then the bolts went through the plate, through the plastic, and when I tightened it down, then the plate was pulling it evenly tight, and it totally solved my problem. So like, if I would have figured that out from the beginning, or somebody would have told me to do that, I would have saved hours. After you finish the control column, then you're on to like the Flapperon lever and the Aileron lever, and then you have to run the different rods that connect everything together. So you're literally laying out the controls as you go. This is a reamer. The reamer is kind of like a drill bit, but it goes through, it gets it perfectly like straight hole. So where a drill bit will wobble a little bit. So get just a little bit of oil for this job here. This is easy. And then just nice and slow. Remove that powder coat. Good to go. put these bell cranks on, and again, it's ream and bolt and ream and bolt, and you're gonna spend some time doing it. Working on this piece. So, aileron bell crank installation. And I pressed these guys in. I finished this guy up, and this is, this thing took me, I don't know, a long time. I mean, you got to drill out, you know, you got to fabricate all this stuff. There's bolts, all this stuff needed reamed. It looks really simple. Here we go over here. It looks really simple, but took a long time, long time. We got our controls, right? We've got this guy here is a mixer, so this is gonna hook to this, and then there will be a rod that goes back. That's for the ailerons. So see left, right. Oops, left, right here, and this moves. And this is gonna all get finished hooking up, but back here I installed all this stuff. Installed this. This is for the flaps. And so this is next to get hooked up. And you're gonna spend some time doing it. But that's really the start of the fuselage, and then it's back to more woodworking. So then we got to get the floorboards in, and so the floorboards they give you, again, they're pre-cut, but they don't fit. So really not much fits out of the box. This is not a plug-and-play kit. This should fit here once you make it fit here kit. So with the floorboards, you're cutting them, sanding the edges, shaping them, like getting, you know, there's welds on this frame, so you gotta cut the boards so to relieve them for the welds. But you get those floorboards fit. Again, those need varnish too, so it's more varnishing. For the first couple months, I was stinking the house up with varnish. They say you're supposed to wear protective gear and all this. If I'm being honest, I didn't do that. And then it's on to the center console. The center console is where you get to start working with some metal. So far, so good. Got the center console going pretty well here. Let's show you. Okay, so we have the flat bracket in. And that can go up and down. Click through there. And we got these ready to drill. This took a while to get to this point. Got these holes drilled up here. All right, so I'm getting the center console here. Worked on making some really good progress here. Check it out. I'll show you what I did. So we got the brackets in. These are clecoed in for right now here. And the reason for that is I got to bond them in and rivet them here in these holes. So this is kind of keeping it all together, but you got to make sure everything works in case you want to make adjustments. So these here are the rudder pedals and are adjuster handles or whatever you want to call them. So here's the rudder pedal adjusters. You adjust those here. Those brackets are all good. This one works. They all lock. And then over here we got our flaps. Those work. Those are in the right spot. I can hit all three notches. Back here you can see that moves. So you do some initial fitting with the center console. It's by no means done, but there's a bunch that goes into drilling holes and getting that center console right. And then onto the vertical tail assembly. When we get into the vertical tail assembly, now we're back to woodworking. So now we've got more ribs we've got to fit and Hysol on. And there's also your first taste of fiberglass. So when you get to the tail, you're working some fiberglass. Well, I've never worked with fiberglass before. I didn't really know what I was doing with it. It's not too bad, but you're using your Dremel, your sandpaper, you're cutting, you're getting it all to fit right. Another part of that is you've got to take these aluminum strips and they're already bent like at a 90, so that's good. You don't need a brake to build this plane, like a metal brake. The Kitfox does a good job of sending you the right materials, but you're cutting them to length, you're drilling holes and all this stuff, and then riveting it all on, gluing it all on, Hysoling it all on. And so you get to pull a whole bunch more rivets when you get to the tail section there. And then you get to do the rudder pedals. Boy, those rudder pedals, when you get working on the rudder pedals, that'll help, but there's a bunch of sanding of the inside of the tubes, and again, nothing fits right in this kit, so you're sanding and working everything to get it to fit right, get smooth controls, and you actually mount those, and that's it. I didn't take them back off after that. So you go through a number of steps and some hours of work, you get them mounted. You get to then hook up some of the rudder cable stuff. So you get the rudder pedals in, and then you can start to do some of the rudder cables and start running cable through the plane. That's cool. Rudder cables are all hooked up, and they're just not hooked up in the back because you don't do that till after fabric. They're all hooked up. Then we get to do the seat. So the seat was cool, but it was a lot of work too. Like, it's this rough, you would think that this piece of fiberglass would just drop into place for the seat and you drill a couple holes and bolt it on. Not at all. So I found myself going back and reworking this thing multiple times even after I thought I had it done. But with the seat, you've got to cut all the holes for the seat belts in it. You got to drill all the holes. It's too big because they just pull it out of the mold and ship it to you. So you got to sand it down and cut it and shape it a little bit. Once you get that seat ready, it's really starting to feel like you're building an airplane. So you've got to do, on the fuselage, you got to do these stringers that run down the side of the airplane. And so you put these stringers on. There's one on each side and then one on the belly of the plane. And the stringers aren't too bad. Honestly, that was probably one of the easier steps. So you get the stringers all on. And then there's some initial door prep. The doors are a project in and of themselves. Now, you are not fully installing the door in the beginning here. Here sits the fuselage. And we're working on the doors. So I did one last coat. I should be able to clean it up from here. That'll all sand out, trust me. And so this will be all smoothed out. And then I started working on the door here because the glass came in. So the glass is sitting up here. I have to glue that onto, not glue, but I have to fit that onto this door frame here. So you can see, and I've already put some rivet nuts in. That's how I'm going to attach it rather than drilling all the way through. So there's some stuff with the door that's good to do, that you need to do before the fabric goes on the plane, but there's a whole bunch of other steps after that with those doors too. So it's almost like you build the door and then they just went up on top of one of my cabinets and they sat there for months before I needed them again. So, but you get your first taste of working on the doors, and with some acrylic and all of that, there's trim that goes around. It's not on the door, but there's trim that goes around the fuselage, like where the door opening is. You have to cut this metal. It's already bent again, but you've got to cut it to length. You've got to Hysol it in place, and then you've got to go through and superfill like it together, and that takes a long time. You know, I got this tail put together and stuff, but then like the top of it isn't rounded. So there's a foam block that they send with the kit, and I've seen people use balsa wood. I did not buy any balsa wood for this. I shaped it as best I could, kind of groove it out, set it on there, and finish a rough shaping. And then I went through with Hysol, did a coat of Hysol over the foam, let that dry, and then went through and put Superfill and smoothed it all out. And parking brake. So then you jump back to the center console, right? So we put the parking brake on and fit that up. It doesn't fully get installed, but there's some more work there. There's a trim position sensor that you got to mess with. You do some tail light stuff, and there's like, I did the pre-cover, so I put it on. I put the tail light bracket, I guess you'd call it, fitting on first and then went over it. All right, I'm gonna wrap this video up here. Remember, I'm a mortgage master, not an airplane builder by trade. Take this advice for what it's worth, free. And if you wanna help me put some 100 low lead in my tank, like and subscribe.